continues. And I think Pochettino in his press conference yesterday also said that we can't compare season with season. Each season is different. And whilst we were fantastic last season and we had the unbeaten home run, that's gone now. We've got to forget it. We've had seasons at White Hart Lane where we weren't unbeaten and we have dropped points, and it's just happening again, and we happen to be playing at Wembley. So maybe we read too much into it, but we need to go on a run, and once we do that, I think everything will be fine. Whether we can put in a title challenge, sorry, I'm blabbing on now, but whether we can put a title challenge together or not will depend. But I think, as Dave Elder said in his question, getting into top four has to be a priority, and hopefully we can get a trophy of some description as well this season.
Vass, if I can piggyback on that, because I've actually got the the results pulled up from last season. And looking at this season, I have done a points comparison, and yeah, you're spot on. The other thing I always like to look at is the corresponding fixture from the previous season. Obviously, Newcastle, and I'll put them in order. If you play one of the teams that's promoted, you match it up against one of the relegated teams from last season, but put it in the order that you played them. And I think Borough away was the first, so we won that. So the Newcastle game is a moot point, same amount of points. But Chelsea, Burnley, and Swansea, we won all those three games. Everton were +2 there. So from those matches, we gained 13 points in those corresponding fixtures last season. So that's 2 ahead of the pace of where we were in the chronological order last season, but 5 adrift from where we are this season. The other thing that you need to look at, while we try to right the ship, as we've got some, I would say, don't want to get too far ahead, but we've got 3 winnable fixtures with West Ham, Huddersfield, and Bournemouth. Around that time last season, we were getting ready for that run of 4 draws that we all know probably impacted our season, how we then had to go on that rich vein of form in December through the end of the season to kind of stay in fighting distance of the top spot. So those 4 draws really, really hurt us. We know this season, when we come to that same period, we're not playing mid-table teams. We're playing Liverpool, United, and Arsenal, and I think we've also got Real Madrid back-to-back in there. So we've got a tough patch coming up, and we really need to get back on the bike with these next 3 games to put us in a good spot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. And Tim, when you look at Spurs, and I want to just go back a little bit to the beginning of the discussion, when we can't break these teams down, is there something that we're missing? Is there an execution point that we are missing? Is it the system simply is not conducive and we're relying strictly on talent to get us a goal at that time? Or should there be a way? Sometimes it seems when I watch other teams play against lesser teams and they're sitting 10 behind the ball, they have no worries trying to get that early goal to open up the game.
I mean, I don't know what else you can do. It's, when they park 10 behind.
A bitch this morning, man. I'm so upset about that.
Well, I mean, look, he comes out tactically more offensive minded, puts Sonny on left wing back, allows us to try and push more of the pitch because we go into this game knowing Swansea's going to park the bus. They already had 2 games in this season into it where they had 0 chances on goal, which they had again this game. So, I mean, I don't know what else he can do tactically. You got 75% of the possession, 26 shots, 40% of the games in their own third. I mean, really what they did is they just laid out the blueprint for everyone on how you play against Tottenham. You put 3 center backs in, you congest the box, and it's just, I mean, at that you're just looking for, I guess, kind of luck. I don't know. I mean, also Fabianski had an amazing game, so you have that to deal with. But I don't know what else you can do. I don't think you can say it's anything tactically wrong from Poch's standpoint or wrong from the players when you have that many shots. It's just it didn't fall our way yesterday, and it's upsetting. But I don't know what you do to fix that.
Do you agree with Vass's take on Dele that he looks rather uninspired and
No. I think that's easy to say coming off a match like yesterday where we feel the way we do, because look back at it just a weekend before against Everton, he's getting really excited, celebrating on Harry's goal when he scored his 100th. So, I mean, with him not excited in a 0-0 draw against Swansea, I think that's reading too much into it.
Yeah, he had that moment for England as well, didn't he, Tim, where he, like the finger thing, and it's just, I don't know, he just looks grumpy to me. I don't know, he just needs to. And
that might be part of his persona. I mean, he does have a little bit of a lightheartedness. We've seen him all with the little waves and training and stuff like that. But maybe on the pitch when it matters, he's a little bit more gruff. And to your point, Vass, or even Davies rather, that maybe he is waiting to get kicked, and it is starting to wear on him a little bit. I don't know. Who knows? Only he knows. And maybe his age.
It's a testament. It's a testament to him being a good player. All good players get kicked.
Yeah.
Sadly. Now he's got to just rise above it. Free kicks. Hopefully, there's no injuries result of it, and I can understand him being concerned about that if he's getting kicked too often. But he's a good player. He's a very good player, and he's just going through a patch at the moment. And I don't know. I'm sure he'll be fine, but I didn't think he played particularly well yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah. As we move forward into looking into what's in the week ahead a little bit too, Barnsley League Cup, we've talked a little bit about, do you play a best 11? Do you give some other people a chance to play? I'm really anxious, and I liken back to Gillingham last year, to see Marcus Edwards get a shot here. And obviously, if there is going to be a player that we integrate into our squad that will maybe push Dele a little bit, Edwards is that choice. Along the same lines of Vincent Janssen, Chairs, he was one of these people that raised his hand and said, I do not want a loan. I want to stay here and fight for my spot. Does a match like this give him that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's got to be critical that those guys get the run out and they get the opportunity to show the boss what they can do in the game situation. So, we've got to mix it up. We've got to give them the opportunity for them to succeed.
Absolutely. Vass, what do you think about these younger players that may get a shot here? Kyle Walker-Peters is another one we should see again for this match, yes?
Yeah, I think so. I'd probably expect to see Kyle Walker-Peters start. Maybe Winksy if he's... because I've heard reports that he may not be fully fit, but I would imagine Winks will play. And... who knows? Maybe Edwards. He seems to be doing really well in the was it the U23s or whatever. And so it's probably time. And I think that's for me. That's the frustrating thing. Poch rotated yesterday. He seems to be quite big on conditioning. Is Pochettino, and I don't know whether he was trying to be smart yesterday or whether he was just really the conditioning thing is always at the forefront of his mind, and he wants to rotate his squad, etc., and keep everyone fresh because it's a long season. But with Barnsley coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, whenever it is, you'd have thought that would have been the opportunity. He could have just built on the Dortmund win yesterday by keeping his team selection fairly consistent.
What would you have wanted to? Vass, what would you have wanted to see different in the lineup that he put out yesterday? Who would you have rather been on there that wasn't?
To be honest, Tim, I was. People were complaining about yesterday's lineup before kickoff, and I didn't really have a problem with it because I knew that Sonny would be quite advanced and he wouldn't really be playing left wing back. I don't really know what I expected, to be honest, but I just was following on from what people were saying about the team selection, and maybe kept Davis in at left back just to have that consistency on the left side, and maybe just pushed Sonny forward a bit more, and maybe, I don't know, even dropped Sissoko and played Ericsson a little bit deeper. Probably it's fine margins, of course. It's not a lot that he could have done. Maybe even kept Aurier in at right back instead of Trippier and played Trippier against Barnsley in the week, as an example. So there wasn't a lot more that he could have done with the team, but I think probably he could have kept his strongest fullbacks on yesterday.
Yeah, did Davis have a knock for him to be on the bench? Because I thought he had a good game against Dortmund.
He just hasn't. I think it's the fact that he hasn't had anyone to spell him this whole season. You know, you're not able to switch off like we are at right wing back. He's having to play every game, and there's important games coming up. We're entering a I guess, a 30-something day period where we're having, 7 games. So I mean, he's gonna play a lot, and he needs to be fresh for the bigger matches. I mean, maybe you look at Swansea as one where it's not as big a match, and maybe we can get away with not starting him. Or also with Sonny, I mean, you needed to be more offensively minded, knowing they're gonna park the bus.
Yeah, and
you don't need Davies.
Tim, one of the things that was really interesting to me, though, was that when he brought Aurier on, and listen, I'm going to raise my hand and tell you right now, I can spot a formation. I know fuck all about tactics. I have no idea. So when Aurier comes on, Trippier slides over to the left side. What if you're going to not be happy with what Sonny was giving you, as Vass alluded to, a left wing back, and then you're going to put him in more of an advanced role or take him off the pitch altogether eventually, why not start the game like that? Go ahead and put Trips on the left if he can play left back, and let Aurier start on the right.
Well, that actually happened before Aurier even came on. After the half, Trips had switched over to the left. Sissoko had been taken out of his center defensive midfield role and switched over to the right wing back, and he did that to allow Sonny to push forward even before bringing on Aurier. So he noticed that it wasn't working having Sonny coming from a left wing back role. We need to get him further up the pitch. You didn't need him staying back. So he had already made that change even beforehand. But once again, I mean, it's that scenario where they're just sitting 10 behind the ball the entire game, and it's difficult to break it down.
Yeah. As we look at Barnsley, Chairs, and Vass, maybe you can assist with this too. We get a lot of opportunities to watch the Premier League clubs here in the States. Not so much championship sides. Occasionally, one of the networks will pick up a couple of championship matches and put them on. So I will be the first one to tell you I know diddly about Barnsley, about as much as I knew about Gillingham going into that match last year. Chairs, what is their history like? Do they have a Premier League pedigree from years gone by? Or
Yeah.
I would like a little bit of education on that because I don't know.
So, it was probably Vass, help me out here, it was at the end of the last millennium, I guess, when they were in the Premier League. I know 96, 97, they were in and around. We used to seem to play them in the cups a lot. In fact, 97, 98, we lost in a fourth round replay in the FA Cup to them. Trying to think if they were still in the Premier League at that point. They were. They were in the Premier League, and I think it was the following season. No, it wasn't the following season. Yeah, it was when Ginola scored the wonder goal when he cut in from the left. And I want to say he was doing a Ricky Villa, but he pretty much waltzed his way around all the defenders into the box. And we won in the sixth round tie at Barnsley. I don't know if they got relegated that season.
Ginola, yeah?
Yeah. So I think... looking at the fixtures that season, they'd already been relegated at that point. So that was their last hurrah in the Premier League. So it's been 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Not 97, 98 was their only appearance in the Premier League, as far as I'm aware.
And it's interesting. We won 3-0 at home. Drew 1-1 away that season. And as I said, they dumped us out the FA Cup. So... but that's, the Jerry Francis Christian Gross era. So anything could have happened with Tottenham that season. We were flirting with relegation that year. That's the season that Klinsmann came back to the club, and his 4 goals against Wimbledon in the penultimate game of the season was really one of the games that helped keep us up. So not a good era for Spurs fans to cast their mind back to.
And Vass, when you look at a match like this, because it was drawn at home for Tottenham, this is going to be a remarkable day out for Barnsley and their supporters. Does that pose any danger as you look at how Pochettino needs to set this team up going into a match like this so they don't get bounced early?
I think it's going to be a factor or a danger with everyone we play against this season, sadly. That is the attraction of playing at Wembley, but regardless, it's going to be our home. Well, it is our home pitch. We're going to be playing there and have been playing there more than everybody else. So the crowd will be predominantly Spurs, although I'm guessing Barnsley will get